Hey there folks, it's Brian with Foxfire Armory again, and I have been trying to finish up this video for a while now, and I swear I feel like every time it's coming to a close, some new event occurs and I feel like I have to add it in. So trying to get this started and going is taking forever. So just to preface here, this video is going to have some speculation, it's going to have some facts in it, and basically the point to get across here is things are heating up. And it really seems like it's primarily the United States that this stuff is happening in. There's a few incidents outside of the United States which we'll touch on. But without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so welcome back folks, and it's Brian with Foxfire Armory. I've been trying to put this video together now for probably about 2 weeks, and I feel like every time I get to a good point, something new pops up and I kill the video and I have to reshoot it. So here we are. Fingers crossed nothing new pops up in the middle of shooting this like has happened the last 3 times. So I'm just going to dive in. We're going to get into this. I'm going to try to hit the points here, and yeah, it is what it is at this point. So let me preface this video by saying I work in the space I'm about to speak about, and the things that I'm seeing, some of this stuff is going to be speculation based on what I've been seeing. Some of it will be actual factual data that has happened or based around events that have happened. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the topic of this video today is going to be basically, are we currently at war? And what do I mean by that? Are we currently in a cyber warfare state? What we are seeing across the board from the internet security side of things would lead us to say yes. And the US is probably one of the worst hit so far with all of these cyber attacks. We're probably the largest target, we have the largest population, and we probably have the largest amount of critical resources that are automated at this point. So let's get into, let me go through my list here. So are we actually under attack? Well, yes, we are. We've seen that now with the attacks on Fastly and Cloudflare. Those are 2 CDNs, or content delivery networks, and they have been hammered in the last probably 2 months, more than anything else. Almost on a daily basis, they've been hammered with denial of service attacks, or DDoS attacks, which have slowed or completely brought down networks. You've seen it with Amazon Web Services and other websites that are behind these services. My personal site included with this, as I'm behind Cloudflare. Thank God for those services, because ultimately they can bring down sites completely if you aren't behind some of these. So the other part is we are seeing our logistics, supply chains, and even so bad as one of the most recent ones that probably many of you are aware about is the Colonial Pipeline hack. And if that was a ransomware attack, which I believe it was the corporation that owns the Colonial Pipeline ended up paying some exorbitant amount of money to get their systems back and get them back online. Well, what ends up happening with these ransomware attacks and the older generations who used to be able to run a lot of these manual systems, what happens is the manual systems can't override the automated systems anymore because there's no one who knows how to do this stuff. And that's what we saw with the Colonial Pipeline hack. So expect to see more of that. That would be my guess. It's just one of those things that these vulnerabilities are out there, and as these hacker groups find them, they're going to exploit them as much as possible. So expect them to continue, expect them to potentially ramp up in the coming months. So the other one is going to be let me look at here, the JBS beef plant. And that is, I believe, the largest, if not one of the largest, large-scale meat processing plants in the United States. They supply a lot of the ground beef, your steaks, all of that to the grocery stores. Well, what happened is, again, a very similar ransomware attack, completely took out all of their automation and all of all of their distribution network stuff. So all this is linked, right? So their warehouses, their actual plant facility, all that's tied together, and all of that was essentially shut down by this one ransomware attack. Many of you know just how bad our logistics sector is right now, so imagine what that does to things when that happens. You got a logistics sector that's already messed up. Now you have a plant that's supposed to be adding and distributing that stuff through the logistics sector that's slowing down. It's just a giant mess, and it realistically is going to get worse if, well, whether it's our government or whomever else can actually start putting a lid on a lot of this stuff. The other one most recently was the Australian banking system, and that basically shut down all of the banking automation, the ATMs in Australia. At the same time that was happening, I believe it was American Airlines, Southwest Airlines. It was Southwest Airlines that had their entire, I don't know if it was their air traffic controlling network or if it was just their, we don't really know. We don't know the full story behind that one, but whatever it was bad enough to make all the flights be grounded. So no flights in, no flights out through Southwest specifically. Again, we think that was probably another ransomware attack. They have been very sketchy with the details. So as we know more, we'll try to update on that. In Illinois, there was a chem tool plant that exploded. Now, the details around this are extremely sketchy, and they are essentially being covered up by the media and by the company and everyone as far as what happened, right? We have zero information outside of this chemical plant exploded and basically set the building ablaze. My guess, if I had to take an educated guess, is either it was a mechanical failure from an employee or it was a AI sort of computer error, right? We saw that, I believe it was in Waukegan. There was a chemical plant that actually exploded there, and that was due to one of the fail safes that failed, right? Go figure. Something that's put there to prevent that from happening fails, and stuff goes up in smoke. A lot of that is being driven by the computers these days, and unfortunately, if you don't have people who can do manual shutoffs, we're going to see more stuff like this, whether it's human error, whether it's hackers, it's bound to happen. Another big hack that happened recently was EA Games, and what ended up happening with this is they basically stole the source code to a bunch of games. And I don't remember what the estimated net worth, but I think it was something like $50 million in estimated source code is what was stolen. And that one actually didn't really make it into the news outside of the gaming world. So if you're a gamer, you probably heard about that one. Another one is going to be the Florida water treatment plant, which was hacked. Now, I don't think anything actually came of this one. Nothing major happened other than they lost control of some of their systems and they were eventually able to regain control. So that alone is what, 8, 9 different attacks within the last year and a half that have occurred, and they're just getting worse. They're ramping up. They're being more brazen. They're becoming more sophisticated, and we can expect it to realistically continue to happen and get worse. So back to where we started. Do I think we are currently in, we'll call it a cyber war? It's hard to tell 100% based off of the events that have happened, but if I had to guess, I would say yes. France has seen issues now, the UK has seen issues, Australia has seen issues, and now we're seeing a ramp up of issues occurring in the United States, whether that's the attacks on the CDN networks, Google's been hacked recently, Facebook's been hacked recently, who else? Man, I feel like everyone has been hacked within the last year and a half, to some extent, whether that was a massive breach or a smaller breach. But everyone needs to protect themselves. And so that'll lead me into kind of like the final point here. You really need to protect yourself online. And I know we put ourselves out there, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, here I am. Things like LastPass, 1Password, anything that's going to allow you to store and create extremely long, hard to brute force attack passwords, it's a must. You should be doing that. If you're not doing it now, do it. It's for the cost that it's going to cost you to have a password manager that will manage all your passwords. You need to do it. The other side to that is when you get the password manager, you need to make sure that your password, or as I like to use, it's a passphrase. Something that's long, easy for you to remember, but hard for a hacker to guess, or he's going to spend, I don't know, I think with a 256-bit encryption, you're talking a million years, if done correctly, for the hacker's software to actually guess your password. So that would be number one. Get yourself a password manager and make sure that every site has a different password. Usernames, you can use the same username, that's fine. They may be able to get your username, but if you have very hard to guess, heavily encrypted passwords, they're not going to be able to guess that, right? So they can get your username. As long as they can't get your password, you're usually in the clear. The social engineering side of things comes into play after that, is if you're giving away stuff that could make them guess your passphrase, right? So don't answer things about what street you live on when you were 8. Don't answer what high school you went to and what your childhood best friend's name was, or your first cat, your first dog, whatever, because those are basically things they're going to use to try to guess your passwords. And for many out there, I mean, it really is that simple. It's something like their child's name with their birth date. So definitely pay attention to that. The second part would be VPNs. That's going to obscure your IP address, and it's going to help you avoid those hackers on networks, right? So moving from your network to Google's network, that traffic can be intercepted in the middle, and that's what ends up happening. Is your Wi-Fi network might be insecure, and a hacker can get into your Wi-Fi network, and then as you're sending data back and forth, they're intercepting it, and that's where you're losing information from. So VPNs help with that. Definitely hardening all your IoT devices, and that's internet connected devices. So if you have a Wi-Fi network, making sure that the admin on the actual Wi-Fi device is locked down with a very hard to remember password. Same thing goes for if you have Ring or Nest or any of these other devices. Make sure that they have limited access to the internet outside of what they need, and then make sure you're locking down your router so that people can't actually get in and access that stuff. So, long-winded, I know, I get it. I'm trying to stop saying for those of you who are definitely going to comment on that. I'm trying my best. I just get a lot of thoughts up there, and my brain moves a little bit faster than my mouth sometimes. So there it is, and hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you like, please share, drop a like, drop a comment. I try to answer as many as I can, and thank you so much to everyone who's subbed so far. I am so grateful to everyone, and hopefully more content to come. Thank you.